The text message arrived at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night that would forever divide my life into before and after. I was hunched over my laptop in the basement office of our suburban Massachusetts home, debugging code for a client project that was already 3 weeks behind schedule, when my phone buzzed against the cluttered desk. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Lauren's name appeared on the screen. Odd, since she'd gone to bed 2 hours ago, claiming exhaustion from showing houses all day. The message made me freeze. I'm ready to leave him, but I need money. Soon we'll take everything from him, honey. He's too stupid to see what's coming. The divorce will destroy him financially. My lawyer says we can claim he's been hiding assets. Can't wait to be free of that pathetic loser. I stared at the screen for 30 seconds, my brain refusing to process what I'd just read. Then came the follow-up. Oops, not for you. Just a joke. Night, babe. A joke. Right. Because nothing says comedy gold like planning to financially devastate your husband of 15 years. My hands shook as I screenshot both messages. In my line of work as an IT project manager, I'd learned that evidence disappears faster than free donuts at a developer meeting. The timestamp, the metadata, the phone number, all captured before Lauren could think to delete anything. I sat back in my creaky office chair, staring at the concrete walls of our basement. We'd bought this house in Millbrook 7 years ago, back when Lauren still pretended to love me, and I still believed her real estate career was about selling houses instead of whatever the hell she was actually doing with her clients. The signs had been there for months. Late-night phone calls she'd take outside, sudden interest in working out, new lingerie that I never saw her wear around me, the way she'd started criticizing everything about me, my job, my clothes, my friends, even the way I loaded the dishwasher. He's too stupid to see what's coming. Well, Lauren, surprise. Your stupid husband just got a lot smarter. I opened my laptop and began documenting everything. Screenshots went into encrypted folders. I pulled up our bank statements, investment accounts, credit card records. If Lauren thought she was going to take me to the cleaners, she was about to learn that this particular loser had been managing our finances for over a decade. The first thing I noticed was the money. $3,000 withdrawn from our joint savings last month. Another $2,000 the month before. All cash withdrawals from ATMs across town, always on days when Lauren claimed to be showing properties to out-of-state buyers. I cross-referenced the withdrawal locations with Lauren's calendar. Every single one corresponded to a day she'd marked as having appointments with C. Lang Construction for luxury home consultations. Chris Lang. I knew that name. Golden boy contractor who'd grown up in Millbrook, played football at the regional high school, married his high school sweetheart, Marissa Pike. He specialized in custom homes for the wealthy summer crowd who built lake houses they'd use 3 weeks a year. I'd met Chris exactly once at a town barbecue last summer. Tall, tanned, the kind of guy who called everyone buddy and had opinions about craft beer. Lauren had spent that entire afternoon laughing at his jokes and touching his arm whenever she talked to him. He's too stupid to see what's coming. I pulled up our cell phone account online. Lauren didn't know I had administrative access to view call and text logs. What I found made my stomach turn. Hundreds of texts and calls between Lauren and a number I now knew belonged to Chris Lang. The frequency had increased dramatically over the past 3 months. But here's what Lauren didn't know about her stupid husband. I'd been in IT for 20 years. I understood digital footprints, data recovery, and most importantly, how to make evidence stick. Every deleted text, every cleared browser history, every permanently erased photo. It was all recoverable if you knew where to look. By 2 a.m., I had enough evidence to bury Lauren and her boyfriend in any divorce court in Massachusetts. But as I sat there in my basement office, surrounded by the detritus of my failing marriage, I realized something important. I didn't want to just win a divorce. I wanted revenge. Not the violent kind, I wasn't some psychopath, but the kind of revenge that would leave Lauren and Chris exactly where they deserved to be. Publicly humiliated, financially ruined, and completely aware that they'd been outplayed by the pathetic loser they thought they could destroy. I opened a new document and began planning. If Lauren wanted to play games, I'd show her what happened when you challenged someone who actually knew the rules. The basement clock ticked toward 3 a.m. as I worked, documenting every lie, every betrayal, every stolen dollar. Upstairs, my cheating wife slept peacefully in our bed, probably dreaming about her new life with Chris and all my money. She had no idea that her stupid husband was about to become her worst nightmare. The next morning, I performed the greatest acting job of my life. I made Lauren coffee, kissed her cheek, and asked about her day like a devoted husband should. She barely looked up from her phone as she rattled off a schedule of property showings and client meetings. "I'll be late tonight," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Big client from Boston wants to see the Morrison estate. Could be a huge commission." "That's great, honey," I replied, mentally noting that the Morrison estate had been sold 3 weeks ago. I'd seen the listing change to sold on the real estate website. "I'll grab dinner with Glenn anyway. Haven't seen him in weeks." Lauren's face brightened at the mention of my best friend. Of course it did. The more time I spent away from home, the more freedom she had to continue her affair. Glenn Morrison, no relation to the estate, had been my best friend since college. Ex-police detective turned private security consultant, he had a talent for reading people and a complete inability to sugarcoat anything. If I was going to war, Glenn was exactly the kind of ally I needed. After Lauren left for her fake appointment, I spent the day working from home and continuing my investigation. I installed monitoring software on our shared laptop, completely legal since my name was on the purchase receipt. I placed a small GPS tracker in Lauren's car, tucked under the rear bumper where she'd never think to look. The tracker was a gift from my paranoid neighbor, Mrs. Eleanor Pike, Chris Lang's mother-in-law, as it turned out. She'd given it to me last year after her car was broken into, insisting I should protect our vehicles too. The irony was delicious. By 4 p.m., I had a complete picture of Lauren's activities. The GPS showed her car parked not at the Morrison estate, but at Spruce Lake, 15 miles outside town. A quick property search revealed that Chris Lang had recently rented a luxury cabin there under his business name. I called Glenn and arranged to meet at Murphy's Pub, our usual spot, a dive bar that served excellent wings and minded its own business, perfect for the conversation we needed to have. Glenn arrived at 6 p.m. sharp, still looking like a cop despite being retired for 3 years. Gray hair buzzed short, sharp eyes that missed nothing, and the kind of presence that made people confess things they hadn't planned to say. "You look like hell," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "What's going on?" I showed him the screenshots from Lauren's text message. Glenn read them twice, his expression growing darker with each word. "Jesus Christ, Ethan. How long has this been going on?" "Months, maybe longer. I've been tracking her movements, financial records, phone logs. It's bad, Glenn, really bad." I laid out everything I'd discovered. The cash withdrawals, the fake appointments, the GPS evidence placing her at Chris Lang's love nest. Glenn listened without interruption, occasionally nodding or making notes on a napkin. "So what's your play?" he asked when I finished. "Divorce lawyer? Private investigator? I know some good people." "No," I said. "I want to destroy them, both of them, completely." Glenn raised an eyebrow. "Define, destroy." "Financially ruined, socially humiliated. I want everyone in this town to know exactly what kind of people they are. I want Chris's wife to find out. I want Lauren's real estate license questioned. I want them to lose everything they've worked for, just like they planned to do to me." "That's a dangerous game, buddy. You sure you want to go down that road?" I thought about Lauren's message. He's too stupid to see what's coming. The casual cruelty of it. The years of lies and manipulation. The money she'd stolen from our joint accounts to fund her affair. I'm already down that road, I said. The question is whether you're willing to help me walk it. Glenn was quiet for a long moment, studying my face. Finally, he grinned, the same predatory smile he'd worn when interrogating suspects back in his police days. What do you need? We spent the next 2 hours planning. Glenn knew a forensic accountant who could trace financial irregularities. He had contacts at the state real estate board who could investigate licensing violations. Most importantly, he understood how to gather evidence that would hold up under scrutiny. The key is patience, he explained. You can't just blow everything up at once. You need to be strategic. Hit them where it hurts most when they're most vulnerable. I've got time, I said. Lauren thinks I'm clueless. Let her keep thinking that while I build my case. What about your daughter? Sophie's what, 13 now? This is going to affect her too. That stopped me cold. Sophie was the one innocent party in this whole mess. Smart, funny, wise beyond her years. She deserved better than having her family implode in spectacular fashion. I'll protect her, I said. Whatever happens, Sophie comes first. Glenn nodded approvingly. Good. Because if you lose sight of that, you become just as bad as they are. We finished our beers and shook hands. As I drove home, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Purpose. For too long, I'd been a passive participant in my own life, letting Lauren call the shots while she systematically dismantled our marriage. Not anymore. I arrived home to find Lauren's car in the driveway, which surprised me since her GPS showed she'd only left the lake house 20 minutes ago. She must have driven like a maniac to beat me home. She was in the kitchen, frantically cooking dinner. Another red flag, since Lauren hadn't cooked a meal in 6 months. How was your client meeting? I asked casually. Great, really great. The Boston couple loved the Morrison place. I think we'll have an offer by tomorrow. Lie number 1. The Morrison estate was already sold. That's wonderful, honey. What did they offer? Lauren's face went blank for just a moment. Oh, we didn't get to numbers yet. Just the initial showing. But they seemed very interested. Lie number 2. If there was no offer, how could she be optimistic about tomorrow? I'm so proud of you, I said, kissing her cheek. You work so hard for your clients. Lauren smiled and squeezed my hand, and for a brief moment, I almost felt sorry for her. She had no idea that her lies were being catalogued, her movements tracked, her entire secret life documented in meticulous detail. Almost felt sorry. But then I remembered her text message, and the feeling passed. After dinner, I retreated to my basement office while Lauren watched television upstairs. I had work to do, phone calls to make, evidence to organize, a plan to refine. Lauren thought she was playing chess while I played checkers. She was about to learn that I'd been playing chess all along. 2 weeks later, I was ready to make my opening move. Lauren's pattern had become predictable. Fake client meetings every Tuesday and Thursday, always at locations that coincidentally placed her near Chris Lang's various properties. She'd even started staying out overnight, claiming she was driving potential buyers to view homes in other towns. The lies were getting bolder, which meant Lauren was getting careless. Perfect. My forensic accountant friend, a favor called in through Glenn, had uncovered something interesting. Lauren hadn't just been withdrawing cash for her affair. She'd been manipulating her real estate transactions, inflating commission reports to her brokerage while pocketing the difference. It was a small-scale embezzlement scheme, probably totaling less than $15,000, but enough to cost her license and possibly result in criminal charges. But I wasn't ready to play that card yet. First, I wanted to test the waters with something more immediate and public. The opportunity came at the annual Millbrook Business Association mixer, held every year at the country club. Lauren never missed it, too many potential clients and networking opportunities. She'd bought a new dress for the occasion, spent 2 hours getting ready, and practiced her elevator pitch in the mirror. She had no idea I'd volunteered to help with the technical setup for the evening's presentations. The mixer format was simple. Local business owners gave 5-minute presentations about their services, displayed on a large screen for the assembled crowd of about 100 people. Lauren was scheduled to speak at 7:30 p.m. about luxury home sales in the digital age. I arrived early, ostensibly to help the AV crew, but really to execute my plan. Lauren's presentation was stored on a USB drive in her purse. During the cocktail hour, while she mingled and schmoozed, I made a simple switch. The USB drive I substituted looked identical to hers. Same brand, same color, same size. But instead of her carefully crafted presentation about real estate trends, it contained something much more interesting. Screenshots of her text messages with Chris Lang. I'd spent hours curating the perfect selection. Messages about their affair, complaints about me, discussions of their plan to take everything in the divorce. But the crown jewel was a series of texts where Lauren and Chris discussed her commission manipulation scheme, complete with details about which transactions she'd falsified. At 7:25 p.m., I took my seat in the back of the room. Lauren stood at the podium, confident and radiant, completely unaware that she was about to destroy herself in front of every important business contact in town. "Good evening, everyone," she began. "I'm Lauren Calder from Premium Properties, and tonight I want to talk about how technology is revolutionizing luxury home sales." She clicked to advance to her first slide. Instead of a professional chart about market trends, the screen displayed a text message conversation. Lauren: "I can't wait to dump Ethan and take half of everything. He's such a pathetic loser." Chris: "Soon, baby. My divorce lawyer says we can clean him out if we play this right." The room went silent. Lauren stared at the screen in horror, then frantically clicked her remote, trying to advance to the next slide. It only got worse. Lauren: "I've been skimming commissions from the Peterson sale, another $2,000 cash that the brokerage won't miss." Chris: "You're brilliant. We'll have enough to disappear together once we're done destroying our spouses." "This isn't my presentation," Lauren shouted, but her voice was drowned out by the murmur of shocked conversation from the audience. People were pointing, whispering, pulling out their phones to record the disaster unfolding on stage. I watched from the back as Lauren's face went white, then red, then white again. She looked desperately around the room, and for a moment, her eyes met mine. I gave her a small smile and a little wave. That's when she knew. Lauren fled the stage, pushing through the crowd toward the exit. I followed at a distance, curious to see what she'd do next. She made it to the parking lot before Chris Lang intercepted her. "What the hell was that?" he demanded, grabbing her arm. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "It wasn't me," Lauren sobbed. "Someone switched my drive. Someone knows about us." "Who? Who could possibly know?" I stepped out from behind a parked car, still wearing the helpful volunteer badge I'd used to gain access to the AV equipment. "Hi, honey," I said pleasantly. "How did your presentation go?" Chris released Lauren's arm and took a step toward me. "You snake. What did you do?" "Me? I just helped with the technical setup. Lauren's the one who brought the USB drive." I held up her original drive, the one with her actual presentation. Though I have to say, your version was much more entertaining. "You're lifeless," Chris snarled, clenching his fists. "You hear me? Lifeless. Careful, Chris. We're in a public parking lot with about 100 witnesses inside who just saw some very interesting evidence of fraud and adultery. You really want to add assault to your list of problems?" Lauren grabbed Chris's arm, pulling him back. "Don't. Please, this is bad enough already." "Oh, this is just the beginning," I said. "See, the thing about being stupid is that stupid people make stupid mistakes, like sending incriminating text messages, like embezzling from your employer, like thinking your husband won't notice when you're stealing money to fund your affair." "You can't prove anything," Lauren said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Actually, I can. Bank records, phone logs, GPS tracking data, financial statements. I've got everything, Lauren. Every lie, every theft, every betrayal. all documented and backed up in multiple locations. Chris stepped forward again, and this time I was ready for him. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Please, continue," I said. "I'd love to add a video of you threatening me to my collection of evidence." "This isn't over," Chris said, but he was already backing down. "You're right," I agreed. "It's not over. Not even close." They drove away separately. Chris in his flashy pickup truck, Lauren in the sedan I'd been tracking for weeks. I stood in the parking lot, watching their taillights disappear, and felt a deep satisfaction settle in my chest. Round 1 was complete. Lauren's reputation in the local business community was destroyed. By tomorrow morning, everyone in town would know about her affair and her embezzlement scheme. Her brokerage would have to investigate, probably resulting in suspension or termination. But this was just the appetizer. The main course was still to come. I drove home, poured myself a whiskey, and began planning my next move. Lauren wouldn't be coming home tonight, probably crying on Chris's shoulder at his lake house, trying to figure out how to salvage their situation. They had no idea how much worse things were about to get. Lauren didn't come home that night, or the next. On Friday morning, I received a text. "Staying at my sister's. Need time to think." Lauren's sister lived in Connecticut. The GPS tracker on her car showed it parked at Chris Lang's lake house. Even in crisis, she couldn't stop lying. Sophie noticed her mother's absence, of course. At 13, she was too smart to buy my explanation about a business trip. "Dad," she said over breakfast Friday morning, "is Mom having an affair?" I nearly choked on my coffee. "What makes you ask that?" "She's been acting weird for months, always on her phone, always going out, never wants to spend time with us anymore. Plus, Jenny Morrison's mom was at the business mixer Tuesday night. She told Jenny that Mom made some kind of scene with her presentation." Jenny Morrison was Sophie's best friend and the town's most efficient gossip network. If Jenny knew about the mixer disaster, then everyone at Sophie's school knew too. "Sophie, I need you to listen to me very carefully," I said. "Your mother and I are having some problems, adult problems, but whatever happens between us, it has nothing to do with how much we both love you." "Are you getting divorced?" The question hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. I could lie, buy myself time, try to protect Sophie from the ugly truth a little longer. But she deserved honesty, even if it hurt. "Probably," I said. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear." Sophie nodded solemnly, processing the information with the serious expression she'd inherited from me. "Is it because of the affair?" "Partly. But there are other issues too. Financial issues. Trust issues." "What's going to happen to me?" "You'll live with whoever you want to live with. And the other parent will still be part of your life. That's how these things work." Sophie was quiet for a moment, staring at her cereal. Then she looked up at me with eyes that seemed far too old for her face. "I want to stay with you," she said. "Mom's been lying about everything. I'm not stupid, Dad. I know she doesn't really love us anymore." The words hit me like a physical blow, not because they were surprising, but because they were true. Lauren had checked out of our family emotionally months ago, treating Sophie and me like obstacles to her new life, rather than people she was supposed to love. "We'll figure it out," I promised. "But right now, I need you to be patient while I handle some things." "Are you going to destroy her?" Another question that caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" "I heard you on the phone with Uncle Glenn. You were talking about revenge and making her pay for what she's done. Are you going to destroy Mom?" I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She was watching me with the same analytical expression I wore when solving complex problems at work. She wasn't asking out of fear or concern for Lauren. She was asking because she wanted to understand the game being played around her. "I'm going to make sure she faces consequences for her choices," I said carefully. "But I'm not going to do anything that would hurt you or put our family in danger." Sophie nodded. Good. She deserves consequences. After Sophie left for school, I spent the morning implementing the next phase of my plan. Lauren's absence gave me unrestricted access to our shared accounts and documents. I transferred our joint savings into an account in my name only, completely legal since I was a joint holder. I changed passwords on our shared credit cards and investment accounts. I secured our most valuable possessions by moving them to a safety deposit box. By noon, Lauren's access to our financial resources was completely cut off. My phone rang at 12:15 p.m. Lauren's name appeared on the screen. "What did you do?" she screamed before I could even say hello. "My cards aren't working. The bank says I don't have access to our accounts." "Hello to you too, dear," I said pleasantly. "How's Connecticut?" "What?" "Your sister's house in Connecticut, where you're supposedly staying while you think about our marriage." Silence on the other end. I could practically hear the gears turning as Lauren tried to figure out how much I knew. "I'm protecting our assets during this difficult time," I continued. "You understand, given your recent financial irregularities?" "You can't do this. That's my money too." "Actually, I can. Check the account agreements you signed. In cases of suspected fraud or embezzlement, either party can secure joint assets pending investigation." "Fraud? What fraud?" "Oh, I don't know. Maybe the commission skimming you and Chris discussed in your text messages? The ones that were accidentally displayed at the business mixer?" More silence. Then, "I want to come home. We need to talk." "I don't think that's a good idea right now. Sophie and I are doing fine without you." "Sophie is my daughter." "Yes, she is. And she's the one who asked me if you were having an affair. Apparently the whole school is talking about your presentation disaster. Children can be so perceptive." I heard Lauren start to cry. Real tears this time, not the manipulative sobbing she'd used to control me for years. "Ethan, please. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling, work through our problems." "The time for counseling was before you started stealing our money to fund your affair. The time for working through problems was before you planned to take everything from me in a divorce." How did I what? How did I find out about your plan to destroy me financially? How did I discover your embezzlement scheme? How did I learn about your secret rendezvous at Chris's lake house? Each revelation hit her like a slap. I could hear her breathing getting faster, more panicked. "You've been spying on me," she whispered. "I've been protecting myself from a wife who was planning to rob me blind. There's a difference. What do you want?" "I want you to understand something very clearly, Lauren. You declared war on me the moment you decided to betray our marriage and steal our money. But you made one critical mistake." "What?" "You assumed I was too stupid to fight back. You're about to learn just how wrong you were." I hung up the phone and immediately called Glenn. "How did it go?" he asked. "She's panicking, probably calling Chris right now to figure out their next move." "Good. Panicked people make mistakes. What's the next play?" "Time to bring Marissa into the game. Chris's wife deserves to know what her husband has been doing with our money." Glenn chuckled. "You really are a heartless bastard when you want to be." I learned from the best. Lauren taught me that marriage is just another business transaction. Now she gets to see what happens when someone better at business takes over the negotiations. That evening, I prepared a package for Marissa Lang. Photos of Chris's car at various hotels around town, copies of Lauren's bank withdrawals that corresponded to their meeting dates, screenshots of text messages discussing their affair and their plans to divorce their respective spouses. I included a simple note. "Thought you should know what your husband has been doing with his free time. A concerned friend." I mailed it from the post office on my way to pick up Sophie from school. By Monday morning, Marissa would have all the evidence she needed to destroy Chris, just as thoroughly as I was destroying Lauren. The beautiful thing about revenge is that once you set the wheels in motion, your enemies often destroy each other without any additional effort from you. Chris and Lauren thought they were so clever, planning to take everything from their stupid spouses. They never considered what would happen when those spouses started comparing notes. Monday morning brought chaos. I was drinking coffee and reading emails when my phone exploded with notifications. Glenn was calling, Sophie was texting from school, and someone was pounding on my front door like they were trying to break it down. Through the window, I could see Chris Lang on my porch, his face red with rage. Behind him stood two other men I recognized, Mike Rodriguez and Tom Chen, both friends of mine until recently. Former friends, as of about 3 weeks ago, when they'd made their position clear about my marriage problems. I opened the door with a smile. "Good morning, gentlemen. Bit early for a social call, isn't it?" "You snake," Chris snarled. "You destroyed my marriage." "I'm sorry, I think there's been some confusion. You destroyed your own marriage when you decided to have an affair with my wife." Mike stepped forward, trying to play peacekeeper. "Ethan, this has gone too far. Marissa filed for divorce this morning. She's taking everything. The house, the business, even Chris's truck." "Sounds like she has a good lawyer," I replied. "Smart woman." "You can't do this to people," Tom added. "Chris made a mistake, but you're ruining his entire life." I looked at my former friends, men I'd known for over a decade, who I'd helped through their own relationship problems, who I'd trusted with my secrets and my friendship. 3 weeks ago, when I'd first suspected Lauren's affair, I'd reached out to them for support. Their response had been swift and brutal. "Maybe if you paid more attention to your wife, she wouldn't be looking elsewhere. Lauren's a beautiful woman with needs. What did you expect? You're being paranoid and controlling. No wonder she wants out." They'd chosen Lauren's side before they even knew the facts. Probably because Lauren had been working on them for months, playing the victim, painting me as the neglectful husband who drove her into another man's arms. "Let me get this straight," I said. "When I came to you 3 weeks ago, worried about my marriage, you told me I was paranoid and controlling. You said Lauren deserved better than a husband who would spy on her. You made me feel like garbage for suspecting what turned out to be absolutely true." "We didn't know," Mike started. "You didn't want to know," I interrupted. "You took her side without question because it was easier than supporting your friend through a difficult time." "That's not fair," Tom protested. "Fair? You want to talk about fair?" I pulled out my phone and showed them a screenshot. "This is a text message Lauren sent to Chris 2 weeks before I came to you for help. She's discussing how to turn my friends against me so I'd have no support system when she filed for divorce." The message was clear. "I've been talking to Mike and Tom about Ethan's jealousy issues. They're starting to see what I've been dealing with. When this all comes out, they'll side with me." Mike's face went pale. "She was manipulating us? Congratulations. You were part of her plan to isolate and destroy me. How does it feel to be used?" Chris grabbed my shirt, pulling me toward him. "I don't care about your sob story. Fix this. Call Marissa, tell her you made everything up." "Get your hands off me," I said quietly. "Now." Something in my voice made Chris hesitate. Maybe it was the complete lack of fear, or the fact that I was recording everything on my phone. But he released my shirt and stepped back. "I can't fix what you broke, Chris. Marissa has evidence of your affair, your financial planning with Lauren, your plans to commit fraud in both divorces. That's all real. That's all your choice. You had no right to interfere in my marriage. You had no right to interfere in mine, but here we are." Tom tried a different approach. "Look, Ethan, we're sorry about how we handled things before. We should have listened to you. But this revenge thing has to stop. You're becoming someone we don't recognize." "Really? Because I recognize myself perfectly. I'm the same person who came to you for help 3 weeks ago. The only difference is that now I know who my real friends are." "So what? We're not friends anymore because we made one mistake?" Mike asked. "You didn't make one mistake. You made a series of deliberate choices. You chose to believe Lauren over me. You chose to make me feel crazy for suspecting the truth. You chose to abandon our friendship the moment it became inconvenient. I looked at each of them in turn. And now you're here. Not because you care about me or our friendship, but because you want me to fix the consequences of Chris's actions. You're still choosing his comfort over my feelings. That's not... Tom started. It is exactly that. Where were you when Lauren was stealing my money? Where were you when she was planning to destroy me in divorce court? Where were you when I needed friends to help me through the worst betrayal of my life? They had no answer because we all knew the truth. They'd been at Lauren's side, validating her victim narrative, helping her build the case against me. I want you off my property, I said. All of you. Ethan, Mike tried. Now. Chris made one last desperate attempt. This isn't over. I'll find a way to make you pay for what you've done to my family. Your family? I laughed. Chris, your wife filed for divorce because you were stealing money to fund an affair. Your business is failing because you've been too busy screwing my wife to manage your contracts. Your reputation is destroyed because people know you're a cheater and a liar. I didn't do any of that to your family. You did. After they left, I sat on my porch and called Glenn. How bad was it? He asked. About what I expected. Chris is panicking, Mike and Tom are trying to play both sides, and nobody wants to take responsibility for their choices. Any regrets about losing those friendships? I thought about it for a moment. Mike and Tom had been part of my life for years. We'd shared barbecues, fantasy football leagues, camping trips with our families. But when I'd needed them most, they'd chosen Lauren's lies over my friendship. No regrets, I said. I'd rather have no friends than fake ones. Good, because this is about to get uglier. Lauren's been calling around town trying to drum up sympathy. She's telling people you've had a mental breakdown, that you're dangerous and unstable. Let her talk. Actions speak louder than words, and her actions are well documented. Speaking of which, I've got some news about her real estate license. The state board is opening an investigation based on the evidence from her presentation disaster. If they find proof of commission fraud, she'll lose her license permanently. How long will that take? Could be weeks, could be months. But her brokerage suspended her pending the investigation. She's not selling houses anytime soon. I felt a grim satisfaction at the news. Lauren's career was built on her reputation and her network of contacts. Without her license, without the trust of the business community, she had nothing. What's the next move? Glenn asked. Time for the grand finale. I want everyone in town to see exactly who Lauren and Chris really are. The Founders Festival is this weekend. Half the town will be there. Perfect. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. As I hung up the phone, I realized I felt lighter than I had in months. The confrontation with Chris and my former friends had been unpleasant, but necessary. All the pretense was gone now. All the fake friendships and false loyalties had been exposed. For the first time since this whole mess began, I knew exactly where I stood with everyone in my life, and surprisingly, I was okay with that. Lauren had wanted to isolate me, to turn my friends against me, to leave me with nothing when she destroyed our marriage. Instead, she'd done me a favor. She'd shown me who really cared about me and who was just along for the ride when things were easy. The people worth keeping in my life were still there. Sophie, Glenn, a handful of real friends who'd reached out with support instead of judgment. As for the rest of them, they could enjoy Lauren's company. They deserved each other. The Millbrook Founders Festival was the social event of the year, drawing nearly 1,000 people to the town square for food, music, and community celebration. I'd been attending for 15 years, usually as Lauren's dutiful husband, making small talk while she networked with potential clients. This year, I had different plans. I arrived early Saturday morning to help with setup, another volunteer opportunity that gave me access to things most people couldn't reach. The festival committee had arranged for a large video screen to display historical photos and community announcements throughout the day. By noon, the square was packed with families, local politicians, business owners, and tourists. Lauren was there, of course, trying to rebuild her reputation through strategic conversations and damage control. She'd brought Chris as her date, a bold move that confirmed they'd given up all pretense of discretion. I watched from a distance as they worked the crowd, Lauren playing the role of wronged wife whose husband had suffered a mental breakdown, Chris positioning himself as the supportive friend helping her through a difficult time. Several people approached me throughout the day, offering sympathy for my situation or asking intrusive questions about my marriage. I played the part of the dignified husband, refusing to air dirty laundry in public, letting Lauren think her narrative was winning. At 3 p.m., I made my move. The festival's traditional highlight was the community recognition ceremony, where local achievements were celebrated and announcements were made. This year's ceremony included presentations about new businesses, charity fundraising results, and upcoming community projects. I'd volunteered to help coordinate the video presentations. What the festival committee didn't know was that I'd prepared a special addition to their programming. As Mayor Patricia Wells took the stage to begin the ceremony, I activated my prepared presentation from the AV booth. The large screen displayed the festival's official logo, while she spoke about community values and local pride. "Now," Mayor Wells announced, "let's take a moment to recognize some of our outstanding community members." I clicked to the next slide. Instead of the planned recognition awards, the screen displayed a clear, high-resolution photo of Chris Lang's car parked at the Spruce Lake cabin, with Lauren clearly visible in the passenger seat. The timestamp showed it was taken on a day when Lauren had told me she was visiting her sick aunt in Hartford. A murmur went through the crowd. Mayor Wells turned to look at the screen, confused by the deviation from her planned presentation. I advanced to the next slide, bank records showing Lauren's cash withdrawals, highlighted to correspond with her client meetings that were actually a fair rendezvous. "Excuse me," Mayor Wells said into the microphone. "There seems to be some technical difficulty." The next slide cut her off, a compilation of Lauren's text messages about embezzling commissions from her real estate sales, complete with dollar amounts and client names. The crowd was no longer murmuring. People were pointing, talking loudly, pulling out phones to record the unexpected drama unfolding on the town's biggest stage. Lauren's face appeared on the screen next, a photo I'd taken from her social media, alongside a text message where she called our neighbors pathetic small-town losers who were too stupid to realize how much I hate this place. That's when Lauren snapped. "Turn it off!" she screamed, pushing through the crowd toward the stage. "Turn it off right now!" But I wasn't done. The final slide appeared, a detailed financial breakdown showing how Lauren and Chris had planned to use their divorce settlements to leave Millbrook together, along with text messages where they laughed about bleeding our idiot spouses dry. Chris tried to reach the AV booth, but Glenn intercepted him. My friend had positioned himself perfectly to block access to the technical equipment. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, taking the microphone from a stunned Mayor Wells, "I apologize for the interruption, but I thought the community deserved to know the truth about some of our neighbors." The crowd was completely silent now, hanging on every word. "My wife Lauren and Chris Lang have been conducting an affair for months, using money stolen from our joint accounts and embezzled from Lauren's real estate commissions. They plan to destroy both of their marriages, take everything from their spouses, and leave town together with the proceeds." Lauren reached the stage, her face twisted with rage. "You're insane. You've lost your mind." "Have I? Because everything on that screen is documented fact. Bank records, phone logs, GPS tracking data, text messages, all admissible in divorce court, all verified by forensic accountants." "You had no right." "I had every right to protect myself from fraud and embezzlement. I had every right to expose the truth about what you've been doing to our family." Chris finally broke free from Glenn and charged toward the stage. "I'm going to eliminate you." He never made it. 3 off-duty police officers in the crowd tackled him before he could reach me, his threat captured on dozens of cell phone videos. "And there's Chris Lang," I announced calmly, demonstrating the same impulse control that led him to embezzle money from his business accounts to fund his affair. That was news to most people, including Marissa Lang, who I spotted in the crowd looking satisfied rather than surprised. Apparently, her divorce investigation had uncovered even more dirt than I'd provided. "You want to know what kind of people they really are?" I continued. "Lauren called all of you pathetic small-town losers." Chris referred to his own neighbors as marks, who were easy to overcharge for construction work. They stole money from their families, lied to their friends, and planned to disappear with the proceeds of their betrayals. Lauren was crying now, but not the manipulative tears she'd used to control me for years. These were tears of genuine despair as she watched her carefully constructed life collapse in front of everyone she'd ever tried to impress. "The evidence is all documented," I said. "The State Real Estate Board is investigating Lauren's license. The IRS is reviewing Chris's business practices. Their respective spouses are filing for divorce with full financial disclosure." I looked directly at Lauren, standing on the stage below me, mascara running down her cheeks. "You said I was too stupid to see what was coming," I said. "You were wrong. I saw everything. I documented everything, and now everyone else can see it too." Mayor Wells finally regained control of the situation, taking back the microphone and calling for security to clear the stage. But the damage was done. 1,000 people had witnessed Lauren and Chris's complete humiliation, and dozens of phones had recorded every moment. As the crowd dispersed, people approached me with a mixture of shock, admiration, and concern. Some thought I'd gone too far. Others congratulated me for exposing the truth. Most just wanted to know if the evidence was real. "Every word," I told them, "every document, all verified and backed up." Lauren and Chris slunk away separately, their grand romance reduced to a public embarrassment that would follow them for years. Chris was arrested for making threats in public, his outburst captured on video and witnessed by hundreds of people. I found Sophie near the food trucks, eating a funnel cake and watching the chaos with the detached interest of someone who'd seen it all coming. "Feel better now?" she asked. "Actually, yes, I do." "Good. Mom deserved that. She's been lying to everyone for months." "What happens now?" "Now we go home, order pizza, and watch a movie. Tomorrow we start figuring out our new life." Sophie nodded approvingly. "Can we get a dog?" "We can definitely get a dog." As we walked back to our car, Glenn caught up with us, grinning widely. "That was beautiful," he said. "Absolutely beautiful. Lauren's finished in this town. Chris, too." "Think they'll leave?" "They'll have to. Nobody's going to do business with them after this. Lauren's lost her license, Chris's construction company is under investigation, and their reputations are destroyed." I felt a deep satisfaction settle in my chest. Not happiness exactly, but something like justice. Lauren had planned to destroy me financially and socially, to isolate me from my friends and community while she stole everything I'd worked for. Instead, she destroyed herself. The beautiful irony was that I'd used her own weapons against her. The lies, the manipulation, the public humiliation, all tactics she'd planned to use on me. The only difference was that my version was backed by documented truth instead of calculated deception. 3 months later, Lauren and Chris were gone. She'd moved back to her hometown in Ohio, working as a clerk in her brother's insurance office. Chris had declared bankruptcy and taken a job with a construction crew in Florida, far from Marissa's lawyers and the wreckage of his reputation. Sophie and I got our dog, a golden retriever named Justice, because Sophie has a sense of humor almost as dark as mine. We settled into our new life, just the two of us, in a house that finally felt like home again. I never remarried, never felt the need to. I'd learned that some betrayals teach you valuable lessons about trust, loyalty, and the importance of choosing your battles wisely. Lauren had wanted to take everything from me. Instead, she'd given me something precious, the knowledge that I was stronger than I'd ever imagined, smarter than my enemies assumed, and capable of fighting back when cornered. She'd called me a pathetic loser who was too stupid to see what was coming. She was right about one thing: she definitely hadn't seen what was coming for her.